Right then, a warm welcome back to Simon Kohler, who must be feeling these days like king of the rails with the recent release of TT120 and the launch just done of HM7000. So thank you, Simon, for your time once more. And I suppose questions never stop when you're running a business like Hornby, and we've got you here today to do a little postscript on our previous Q&A. And I've had a number of questions put to me. I've gathered them from comments in previous videos. Some more have come from my own thoughts, such as they are. And so we'll just do the same pattern. We'll group them under HM7000 questions first, and then TT120 second. That's the theory. We may wander a little bit, but that's the idea.
Good. Off you go, then.
Okay, so quick fire questions, yes or no to begin with. Just easing you in for the HM7000. This came from a fellow called John, asking just confirmation that the upcoming Class 08 TT will fit the non-sound chip, but it won't fit the sound chip.
Correct. It won't. It won't. Not yet.
Okay. That's correct.
It is really a question of space, and people throw at me about Engage and all the rest of it. But at the moment, it'll only take a 6-pin. No sound.
Yeah. Okay, and then since HM7000, again, I think I know the answer to this, but a question was put, are the chuffs synced for steam locos?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
That's assuming you have the correct sound profile downloaded and you have one to match. It'll actually tie into that. And from what I can see also, you've got different sound profiles for the different scales for TT and for 00 for some locos in order to account for the different circumference of the wheels and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose one has to be sort of qualify this that, yeah, it's as the chuff sound and the wheel motion are as close as you will get.
Following on from it, are you intending to keep traditional DCC products in your lineup, chips, TTS, and Elite Select controllers? What's your plans for these that are now legacy DCC?
The Elite will continue. For a time, because not everybody, I'm sure, will want to go Bluetooth straight away. So we will have that. TTS decoders have really been surpassed now with the Bluetooth decoders. I'd say Bluetooth decoders, they are actually, it's best to look at it this way. They are a very good decoder which have a Bluetooth capability.
Sure.
So if I've got an Elite, I can use these new decoders with the Elite, so that they're not just unique to be used with Bluetooth low code or Bluetooth control.
And then again, I think I know the answer to this, but just it was one of the questions asked for HM7000. Do you power the track with 15-volt AC or 12-volt DC?
Either, doesn't matter.
Either. There you go.
Yeah.
And looking a little bit ahead, the HM7000 chips, although they're size constrained, they're scale agnostic effectively. If space allowed it, and someone was clever enough to do it, in maybe an O-gauge model, would it be possible to use the Stay Alive connector and fit instead a large battery that the whole thing could run without any power to the track at all?
I need a technical person to tell me that. I suppose one could argue in theory, yes, because you've got the battery on board.
Yeah.
That's providing the constant power. The decoder controls the speed. So in theory, yes, but I'm no electronics technician. So I would need to ask somebody who knows the difference between plus and minus. You can be sure there's somebody out there trying to figure these things out, to be tinkering away with all these. No, there'll be somebody screaming at the screen now saying, "Doesn't he know that? Heaven's sakes!" Yeah, but I would have thought, it's possible. I would think anything's possible. And the other thing is, with decoders, they will evolve and they will get smaller. That's the way of the world.
Yeah, really. All this technology is moving that way.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
And then another question was put to me, and I had no idea. Will there be a Plux 22 version of HM7000 made for the continental market?
Well, at the moment we're using Next 18 for the European market. It is something that obviously we have discussed, and I can tell you at the moment that's not on the drawing board.
Sure.
You do realise I'm making all this up as we go along, don't
you? But it makes for good videos.
I know, it sounds good, doesn't it?
If we slip over to TT and begin with easy questions, and I'm sure it's not a question you've been asked at all in recent days. Is the 08 ready for release any days now?
Yes. Yes, it is. We've just had the wagons, haven't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, the next will be the 08, which I think is April. Coming in April, maybe May. But yeah,
great.
Very soon.
So that's pending. Yeah. Now you're on record as saying that the TT launch has not met your expectations, but exceeded and far exceeded. I think you said your expectations.
Yeah, I did say that. Yeah.
Can we press you? How much? Can you give any sort of quantify that in any sense? Have you any indication how impressed?
To be honest, I would. Let's put it this way. From the train set point of view, we exceeded my expectations by 7 months.
Wow.
So yeah. Now
that's pretty good.
That could mean yes, we only had 6 of each set, but trust me, it was a few more than that. But no, I promise you, I've got no reason to tell porkies. I was shocked when I got a note from our online people saying, "You do realise we're down to our last 20 sets."
Yeah.
We have ordered more, and they are coming through, I think June time. I think May, June.
Okay.
So yeah, no.
So had you sold?
Very, very pleased.
Yeah. Had you sold, say, half of what you've actually sold, would you still been quite content?
I would be. Yeah, I'd be saying, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's on track.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd be. Yeah, I would be. I would always want more.
Oh yes. Question that came in through the comments from Chris Hobbs. Are you prepared to give any figures as to how many have joined the TT club? Do any idea? Will that be something again?
I can. I believe. I have a feeling it's over 14,000, but let's not get too carried away with that, because when you're giving something away free, it's more likely to, and I'll have a better idea probably at the end of this month.
Sure.
What are the active members?
Yeah,
so that is a different story. I mean, the 14,000 sort of blew me away. I should have known better, really. Say giving something away free.
Now, at launch, it sort of caught many of us by surprise, but I think TT was pitched as an attempt to capture new modelers and capture modelers who had, if for one reason or another, lost their modeling space, fallen out of the hobby, to draw them back in. My sense of it, and this is nothing more than just pride and intuition, shall we call it, is that you've also probably captured a reasonable chunk of current 00 modelers who are willing to try both and do both. Would that be accurate? What's your own sense of that?
Funnily enough, I had this discussion at a board meeting a couple of months ago, and I was convinced that we had probably a good 60% of the people who were buying were new buyers. It transpired that you're probably more right. We've got people who have either dabbled in 00 or have bought a catalogue in 00 or whatever, have actually bought into TT. I can't give exact figures as to whether these are die-hard modelers or people who've just been nibbling around the edges. But they, a good majority of them had bought or been involved with 00. So, yeah, I think, yes, to answer your question, lots of people who have modelled or modelling 00 are having a go. But also there's a good number of people who've wanted a model railway. This is the ideal size and scale for them.
Hornby, obviously the biggest brand name, but no manufacturer operates in a vacuum. And in the second issue of the TT Club magazine, it has a feature showing off a Pico building in TT. How important is it going to be that other manufacturers get on board?
Well, I couldn't possibly speak to them. We have our own canoe to paddle, and that's what we'll be doing. As I think I said in my last chat with you, you know, we've always had a good relationship with Pico. We don't share our development ideas or anything like that, but you know, I have huge amount and deep respect for Pico and what they do. And those buildings are great, and they typify what, you know, to a point, what modelling is all about and what you can do. So, yeah, I thought, why not show it? And there are other companies out there who are doing 3D printing, which you'll start to see those appearing on models that we produce as well. So, yeah, no, I think it's great, but I couldn't possibly comment. I am aware of one company that will be producing a TT item next year. Incidentally, won't be anything that we're planning to do.
Also, I think gleaned from the various comments I've seen on the Hornby forum and elsewhere, from those who have far more experience with TT long before I had any interest in it, or since your own announcement, there's quite a high regard for some of the international brands like Tillich and Kato. Is there another manufacturer doing TT that, you know, before you began as a company to do it, you aspired to like that? They're doing it very well. I would like to have that.
Well,
standard.
Arnold, which is one of
that's cheating.
They do a brilliant job. And the nice thing is, of course, with Arnold, we can share models where, and again, this is the beauty of having the same scale, where there are locos that run over there, that run over here, the 66, for example. Subtle differences, but they'll be on the model. And there's container wagons, etc., that we'll be able to swap over. I make no secret of it. I've found TT fascinating for years. And obviously where I see it, I take notice.
Sure. On a more personal note, do you have, or are you, or will you work on a TT layout yourself? Are you, and if so, what kind of layout do you see yourself working on, or how are you working on? I know.
When people say, do you have a model railway? Yeah, I say, yeah, it's Hornby. It's 2 miles from where I live. That's it. Now, I enjoy perhaps doing other things, but I would be lying if I said I hadn't thought about a TT layout. I don't believe it would be a tail chaser. It would be more of a nice end to end. But see, I enjoy the detail of it all. You know, the running would probably be secondary to, as I've said earlier, creating a nice 3D picture with moving locos. That would be my enjoyment.
You've had obviously been a great launch. I think that seems to be very clear. TT seems to be flying out of your warehouse as fast and you can get into the warehouse. Stock is in and it's out, and it's in and it's out. What is the biggest threat left then? I mean, that kind of initial birthing of the project, if you like, is always that anxious period. What's the next biggest threat that might hinder the scale really establishing itself in the UK?
No, I think there are we do have plans which will become more generally known. He says, choosing his words carefully, in a month or so's time. Probably as and when we have our next chat, I'll be in a better position. I think the thing is, we really should keep the ball rolling, and so people can see the development is happening.
If I can, and I say not to in any sense do gotchas at all, but rather give you opportunity for more communication. There have been great launch, one or two teething issues.
No, I was going to mention that because
are you able to fix, for example, what seems a slight overstressing of some of the curves? I know that there's a backward pressure. How does that?
Yeah, there's been a lot of chat about this, and I really would like to set it straight. What you have with the insert molding of the curves gives, as it cools, it does actually give a slight camber. Now, I could arguably kick myself for this, but when I put a layout together, I sort of fiddle with the track anyway, sort of, stretch it, if you like, relieves the tension, as it were, and it goes together. So when I heard somebody saying that the geometry was wrong and all the rest of it, I was basically dumbfounded, because quite frankly, that was a nonsense, an absolute utter nonsense, that we would produce a geometry that didn't work. I mean, you just got to look at how we put the track packs together and so on. That geometry definitely works. Had I ever put the track together in a circle? No. Not sure why I would. But believe me, on Monday morning, I came in here and I put the track together and it went into a circle. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the camber did in itself then create a problem with some of the coaches, because obviously the tolerances and the bogies, when they're on a camber, the bogey was pushing up and touching the body, which then caused a problem. Oh, you got a problem with the coaches, which we haven't. It was just a factor of running them on the camber. Okay. So basically, we were able to produce a stick and then beat ourselves with it, really. But as I say, with regards the camber, we've now taken steps that the track will be de-stressed, whatever the word is, before it's packed. So you won't have that issue again. You won't have the issue with a scraping of the bogies on the bodies, because again, that's a question of tolerances, and that's being sorted. The whistle on the A4, we put our hands up to that, and it wasn't on upside down, it was just the wrong shape. And that's in future production will be right. Okay. I'm trying to think, was anything?
The other thing, other thing I've got, I didn't have the whistle actually. I should have had the whistle. I had the tooling for the curves, the slight scraping noise occasionally on the coaches. And the last one was a little bit of black tape under the pony. That's the other one. So should that be there? Should it not be there?
No, I don't know why it's there. I haven't had a satisfactory answer. I think it was put there as a some sort of safety. They might worried that the bogey might be shorting on the body or whatever. But I think that was just somebody being overcautious. No, the tape shouldn't be there.
Take it away. If it's there, take it away. How hard has it been juggling the necessity of keeping pressing on with the 00 business, the existing mainstay of the company, and then the added pressure of TT as well? How have you found that? Because you're straddling both.
Well, I don't sleep much, if that's what it means. No, I mean it's the 24 range was more or less put to bed nearly 12 months ago, really. I mean, yeah, obviously, you know, you're putting a few more extra hours in. But no, I think it's the key thing that I always keep in the back of my mind is that Hornby 00 is the important scale. That's, you know, that's what we are famous for. TT is great. TT is the newborn, and that will grow. But you do not ignore the big name over the door, Hornby. Yeah. It's, you know, Hornby 00 is what it's all about. Yeah. So yeah, it's kept very up there in front of us.
Is there a design reason for choosing 3 or 5 pole motors rather than the more compact coreless variety? I initially assumed when we heard TT was launching, it'll probably be the coreless they'll go for in the smaller bodies. But what I can see is actually it's 3 pole and 5 pole you have down. Is it a?
Yeah, the coreless. No, there is the you can have issues with coreless motors. Not that it's a fault, but it's to do with the power and the cycle. No, the electric cycle, or cycles, whatever, which have to be adjusted to accommodate. That's why if you look on the HM6000, you're able to adjust the various cycles.
The pulse wave, yeah.
Yeah, pulse wave. So I think sometimes you know, you can have a 3-pole motor, and depending on the gearing and all the rest of it, you're hard pressed to see whether it's 5 or 3. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that on the diesels, on the 66 and the 50, and I think on the HST, I'm pretty certain it is, they are actually 5-pole.
Yeah, yeah, I think I saw that in the catalogue. I think somewhere, I think the 08 was a 3-pole, but I think the other ones come with 5 poles. I think the 66 and the HST.
And a lot it's to do with size, etc. Of course. 5 poles are a little bit more expensive, but it's horses for courses. If we found the loco wasn't running well on a 3-pole, we would change it to 5-pole. As I say, it's sometimes there's very, very little difference.
Now, I'm just about at the end. Last time round, I threw a question at you in terms of which you'd pick, HM7000 or TT. And I was trying to find a comparable question to end with, a little bit left field. So I went further left field. And what I came up with was, is Bassett Loke dead? And do you regret using the brand name for steampunk?
That's a good question, isn't it? I mean, you know, Bassett Loke and steampunk, you know, steampunk is sort of Victoriana on speed, really.
Yes.
And the Bassett Loke, you know, being a Victorian, seemed to fit. I mean, a lot of people think Bassett Loke was just railways. Well, it wasn't. It was a brand name, and they were, you know, model. They were model makers, and they made ships, and not just locos. They sold components, modelling components, for a good number of years. You know, the big Bassett Loke catalogue and so on. No, it's a good name. I'd love to, if ever we did it, look at perhaps using it again for perhaps larger, more detailed models, whether they be road vehicles or whether they be locomotives or whether they be even boats.
Sounds like an old gauge coming there, I think.
I've got enough with TT. I'll be having sort of 26-hour days soon.
Well, Simon Kohler, thank you very much for your time once more. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I'll hopefully get this edited and get it sent up shortly.
Yeah, well, you're more than welcome. And if anybody does have any questions, do file them through Greg, and I will answer them. No worries
Great.
about answering them. Okay.